The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. W's products are made in the USA in an FDA inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom made by W, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. W's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/discount/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. W Energy, be better. What's going on, everybody? I want to tell you about my new friends over at Cleverman. Visit them online at becleverman.com. What they gave me was the energizing face and beard scrub along with the Cleverman face scrubber. And trust me when I say this, the energizing face and beard scrub smells amazing. Combining it with the face scrubber, making sure that your boy was looking as good and sexy as possible, opened up a whole different sensation in my face that I haven't ever felt before. I felt so clean, so fresh, and so clean, like Outcast said, and it helped me feel like I was ready for my day. Make sure you visit them online at becleverman.com and follow them on Instagram at clevermannyc. The link is up in my bio if you want to check out all the amazing products they have. Visit them online, becleverman.com. It is the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are hanging out with you here on a Monday morning. It is St. Patrick's Day. Before you give me any crap, I do have a little bit of green, Green, not a normal color in my repertoire, but it's okay. We're all good. It should be a fun time. Hopefully, everyone out there, if you are partaking in some of these St. Patrick's Day festivities, you are going to be safe today. If you were partaking in them yesterday, hopefully you're not too hungover. I can't remember the last time that I actually went out, like out of my way to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. And I know it had to have been whenever I was with a radio station group here, but it was before I got with iHeart. It was whenever I was with Town Square Media, because they did a bunch of things at like some bars, and that's probably where I last partook in St. Patrick's Day. So maybe now I've got to step my own damn game up and start partaking in some St. Patrick's Day festivities more often. I'm a borderline alcoholic anyway, might as well. All right, we are live on X, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube, and of course on Roku via National Streaming Sports. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports for dealing with the nonsense that I bring to the table. You can check out all the amazing shows that they have on their platform on Roku. All you got to do is download Roku and then visit National Streaming Sports. National Streaming Sports, they got a ton of awesome things out there for us. And hopefully y'all can tune into some of the other shows that I've been blessed to be a part of. Maybe this time they'll know the name of my show, huh, Tommy? The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, Tipton Sports Broadcasting, all of the fun stuff that we do here. Now, I'm trying to decide on where I want to start, because I feel like, as my guy Tommy Cananto tunes in and says, good morning, Tip. Good morning to you, Tommy. Hope you're doing well today, my friend. Hopefully you are not too hungover. And I feel like the easy place for me to start is obviously going to be with college basketball, right? But I sit back and I wonder to myself, does anyone actually care about the NCAA tournament prior to it starting, right? Like we know the names of the teams that are in there, and my guy Keith Engel, he brought up a great conversation the other day of what do we do since now it seems like the NCAA tournament is kind of just wow, that was sexy as hell, wasn't it? Now that the NCAA tournament has kind of moved into the same space that the college football playoff is currently in right now, where it's okay, we're going to have the eighth and ninth seed from the ACC making it into the NCAA tournament, and they're going to get bounced more than likely in the first or the second round. Like there's not a lot that goes on here, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because the University of North Carolina, UNC, a team that I like, right? Like I'm being a Jordan guy, right? Like obviously I found UNC to be a team that I liked, right? So I always kind of cheer and support UNC and I want to see them do well. And like, I feel like that's a name that you kind of always have to have in the tournament. Even if they're a bubble team, you kind of have to have them there. And that's where some controversy comes in is that they are going to be in the play-in game as a 16 seed. And the question comes up, do they deserve to be there? And I'm not going to go into this a whole lot like a bunch of other people are going to later on. I'm just going to say if you're UNC, you lose to Duke by 3 points off of a lane violation. I don't know if anyone saw that game on Friday night, but Jesus. If you lose by a foot stepping into the lane on a free throw because of a lane violation, it was a semi-championship game. You're losing to a team that's a number 1 seed. Maybe, just maybe, like you can do something in the NCAA tournament. And people point to, well, these Q1 wins and Q2 wins and all that nonsense, right? Like, what did you do in this quadrant and all that stuff? And I feel like if you break it down to that, now you're starting to kind of convolute what the conversation is. And I agree that I don't want the ninth ranked team of the ACC in the NCAA tournament. But Carolina was, by all intents and purposes, the fourth ranked team in the NC or in the ACC, right? Like that's okay to me. That's fine with me. Augustine Pimentel saying good morning to all. Good morning to you, Augustine. Hope that you had yourself a wonderful weekend. I know that you don't partake too much in the St. Patrick's Day festivities, but I watched the NCAA tournament selection show because I'm a nerd and I love me some basketball. And I'm missing the mid majors being in there, right? Like, I get it that you have some conferences that are going to be single bid conferences. Conference USA, for example, is going to be one of those single bid conferences. Augustine saying, my weekend is still going strong. There you go. That's what I like to hear, Augustine. Look at you partying all day and all night. He just wants to rock and roll. I'm trying to remember what the song is. I think it's from Kiss, right? I want to rock and roll all night. There you go. Sorry, Instagram. I know a few of you that are on there. SP Innovation, Britt Mack, Laura Rivera, who is on there as well. Like, I'm gonna sing from time to time on Tom du Tom. I'm gonna be singing. I'm sorry it took me a little while to read your name. It's just the print is like yay big, so it's super tiny, and I am an old man now, and I can't really read all that well. Augustine saying UTEP isn't in the NCAA tournament. What? Oh my lord! I said this from day one. I will continue to say this until my dying day. UTEP and their coaching hires aren't as great as people think they are, right? Like whenever they win, they got Golding, and they said, "Oh, okay, this is going to be the guy that saves the entire program for UTEP." It's not that simple. Just because he took Abilene Christian to the NCAA tournament, they had an upset, doesn't mean that that's going to be some sort of magical elixir that he's going to be able to drink from every single time, right? And whenever you're UTEP and you're playing in Conference USA, and then eventually you're going to be going over to the Mountain West, and you're going to start doing all these other things, you have to realize that you need to win in the margins. And I don't mean on the basketball court, I mean in recruiting, right? You have to be willing to go to the JUCOs and like all these other places like that and try to find talent if you cannot cultivate the talent. And that's what I think is frustrating for a lot of people with the University of Texas at El Paso. As I see that my guy Bill Kuhn is tuned in right now on Instagram. Shout out to you, Bill, for being a part of all the stuff that it is that we're doing. Augustine saying, I've been saying this forever. Bring back Tony Barbie. You know what? I wouldn't be mad at that. I genuinely wouldn't be mad at that. We've seen that UTEP is kind of about retreads. And for those that don't know who UTEP is, that is Texas Western, where the Disney movie Glory Road was portraying the school that won, right? Texas Western is UTEP. They became a part of the UT system in, I want to say, 1967, because the UT system didn't want to have a team that wasn't Texas affiliated win a national championship. But I wouldn't be upset with that. Like I think that's a pretty damn good idea, honestly. You might as well try to do something, right? Like you're never going to get the Rick Pitino's. I mean, you probably could have, right? Like at that point in time, you could have brought the vampire to El Paso, and maybe just maybe something could have happened, and you would have been St. John's now, right? But I feel like what misses out of the NCAA tournament whenever you allow the 9th team in the ACC to be in the NCAA tournament is that you miss the mid-majors getting in there. You miss, the Butlers being able to have a chance to do all kinds of things, right? And now that it's expanded to a field of 68, now that, they're talking about more expansion, maybe to a field of 72, I think was the last thing that I heard. I don't think you need that with the NCAA tournament. Keep it the field of 64, but I will put a cap on how many major conference teams you can have in. Maybe it's 5, right? Maybe it's 5 teams from each of the major conferences. And then you allow 1 or 2 teams, I would say at least 2 teams from each of the mid majors to get in there, right? Like if you are the second place team in Conference USA or the Mountain West, you should be allowed to be in the NCAA tournament. You did something halfway decent to be able to get in, right? So I want to see more of those mid majors. Now I get it. They're more than likely not going to win. But what we love about the NCAA tournament is the Cinderella story, right? It's so hard to get Cinderella in the college football playoff because you don't want Cinderella in the college football playoff. There's only, 3 rounds? With the NCAA tournament, at least you can get the win. You can get that random upset, the 15 seed upsetting the number 2 seed. Hell, the University of Maryland Baltimore, what is it, URGB or whatever it was, that was able to beat and knock off Virginia, right? The 16 seed knocking off the number 1 seed. But it doesn't mean much if you have a 16 seed North Carolina knock off a number 1 seed Duke, because we just saw North Carolina take Duke to a 3-point game where, once again, a lane violation is what ended the game. Just a simple mental mistake. UNC makes a couple of free throws. We're talking about a completely different game right now, right? Like that doesn't have the gravitas as watching these other schools that shouldn't be there, or shouldn't compete against the ACC, or shouldn't compete against the Pac-12 or the SEC or whatever. Those schools being there. North Carolina being a 16 seed, I get it. The weird math that they do with college basketball whenever it comes to bracketology and all that nonsense. You put them in at number 16, but nobody, absolutely nobody would be shocked to see North Carolina, a 23-win team, make it to the Sweet 16. And I love North Carolina. Carolina blue is my favorite damn color, right? Like I've got a thing over here that says Mr. Tipton's Classroom with a headphone and microphone on it that's in Carolina colors. I love North Carolina. Obviously, the Jordan connection that I have, right? Michael, born on February 17th in Jordan's rookie year, right? Born on his birthday in his rookie year. I love me some North Carolina. But I just cannot get over the fact that that's a 16 seed. If you were going to put them in the tournament, hell, make them an 11, because even if this is a down year for Carolina, they're better than all the other mid-major teams that are out there because they're North Carolina. The resources they have, so much better than all the other 16 seeds that are out there. Augustine is saying that basketball is at that level. Basketball at that level is about mental mistakes. The talent is so even, it's about mentality. Exactly. And you kind of knew it the second that it happened, right? Like, if you're not boxing out correctly and you just step into the lane without actually boxing anybody out, and I get it. It was an awkward free throw motion. It was kind of like one of those Shaq-style free throws. I get that, that's going to be something that causes a lane violation, but we also have to remember these are 18, 19, 20-year-old kids that are still learning the game of basketball for the most part at that level because of the whole one and done rule, right? And it's always going to be those little mental mistakes. But if you're going to say that the talent is going to be kind of evenly distributed, North Carolina, I got to remember who it is that they're going to be playing, because they're going to be playing in the first play-in game, which is kind of weird for me to see, at least. Okay, so they have them as an 11 seed. My apologies. They have them as an 11 seed playing in the play-in game. But North Carolina versus San Diego State. And I get that San Diego State is 21-9, and North Carolina is 22-13. We know that there's going to be a huge difference between North Carolina and what San Diego State is able to bring in, just based off of who North Carolina is and what their recruiting is able to bring you. Augustine saying, disagree. If they're at that caliber of school, they have competed at a high level. No, I agree. But that's what I'm talking about, right? North Carolina versus St. Francis, Pennsylvania, right? Like, do you have faith in that St. Francis, Pennsylvania, once again playing in the play-in game, or that Alabama State also playing in the play-in game, is going to have the caliber of player that North Carolina has, right? North Carolina is not a play-in type team. Even as bad as the season went, and if you want to go into the nuts and bolts of it all, of, oh my goodness, look at what's going on over here. Want to give a shout out to my girl, Sonia Pearson from Prim and Proper Sports, who tuned in over on Instagram. Shout out to you. Thank you so much. She actually stayed for a while with Bob, Jim, and Pat Get Drunk on the Internet the other day. Had herself a fun time. I hope had herself a fun time. But North Carolina being an 11 seed, playing in that play-in game, that is not your typical play-in game team. San Diego State being there, I can see it. I don't understand why you wouldn't just, okay, North Carolina, they were the fourth best team in the ACC, third best team in the ACC according to the ACC tournament. Maybe, just maybe, we don't give them an 11 seed because it's the ACC. It's North Carolina. Think about this, 22-13 on the season. They lose to Duke in the ACC semifinal game, and this is a disappointing season for them. A 22-win North Carolina is a disappointment for what it was supposed to be this season. And everyone's going to say, and you know what? I'm going to get into it. I'm going to get into this now, right? The reason why North Carolina is an 11 seed and they're playing in the play-in tournament, as Sonia Pearson says, San Diego State is sneaky good. This is not UNC's year. I get it. I'm once again, in college basketball especially, in college football especially, in college athletics especially, there's a huge difference between the haves and the have-nots. You would not say that San Diego State can recruit a caliber type player that North Carolina has. You if Carolina walks into your kid's house and you got San Diego State's head coach sitting there with you, you're going with North Carolina. You're not going with San Diego State. Sonia Pearson also saying, so happy not to have to hear UNC fans' mouths. Go Duke. Again, I love me some UNC. I genuinely do. Obviously, again, born on Jordan's birthday, all that stuff, right? So I have that little bit of a connection there. And whenever I lived in North Carolina, I loved the Carolina blue being everywhere. Sneaky NC State seems to get forgotten about a lot outside of North Carolina. It's crazy how diehard their fans are. But Carolina loses a lot of these Q1 games against the top-ranked teams in basketball. And I don't necessarily hate Duke. I just think Duke's overrated, and their fans are super annoying. Most of their fans, not all their fans. Shout out to my friend Larissa Mallard. But Carolina's Q1 losses are like 1 or 2 possession games. It's not like they're getting blown out. Now there were like a couple where they didn't play all that well, but they're not getting blown out by a whole bunch of teams on a regular basis. They were 1-12 against the best teams in college basketball. And all of these games, for the most part, were competitive. Think about that. 1-12 against the best teams in college basketball. They had 13 losses on the season. It's not like they're a terrible team. It's a down year for Carolina. Sonia Pearson saying, yes, UNC is established. This is going back to our conversation about whether or not you are going to go Carolina or San Diego State. You're going Carolina, right? And she's saying, oh, you're an Aquarius? Happy, much belated. Her birthday was on February 4th, and I believe you went to Hawaii, right? You went over to Hawaii for your birthday. LOL, are we going to be annoying matching the energy of the Tar Holes give? Okay, so I'm assuming you're a Duke fan. Tar Holes, that's a new one. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. Augustine saying, let's be honest, what seed would you put North Carolina at? I would more than likely put North Carolina at like a 7 or an 8 seed, right? Like, let me find the entire bracket over here and let me see who the 7 and 8 seeds are. You have UConn and Oklahoma as a 7th and an 8th seed. I wasn't expecting this question, so thank you, Augustine, for asking it. Maybe even a 9th, right? Like, you got Gonzaga, Georgia in there. And like I said, the reason why I'm going this route is because I don't feel like it's necessarily fair for Carolina or not Carolina, but for San Diego State to have to draw Carolina. Like, that's not an 11 seed team. Halfway through the bracket, I think, is fine. Tommy's saying Oklahoma with the big flex. Sooners, go Sooners. I will never, unless it's against Texas Tech, or I guess maybe even Carolina, I will never choose or pick or say a bad thing about Oklahoma. My mom was from Oklahoma. The few football games we watched growing up, because we really didn't have a TV, was like Oklahoma, Texas, games like that. So Boomer Sooner until you face Carolina or Texas Tech. Desi saying go Duke. Absolutely a Duke fan since 88. Sonia Pearson agreeing with her, saying yes, Hawaii. Freaking Gonzaga. They always coming in somewhere. I think that's the thing, right? Like, even if you put Gonzaga as like an 11 seed, Gonzaga compared to some of the other mid majors recruits so much better than the other mid majors that it's unfair to the mid major. If Carolina goes on a run, and again, this is coming from a guy that loves Carolina. If Carolina goes on a run, that's not a Cinderella story I'm excited about. As a fan, of course, I'm going to be excited. Be like, yeah, I want to see Carolina in the Final Four. I want to see Carolina in the Elite Eight. But that's not a Cinderella story, and that's what we love about the NCAA tournament is that these seeds, the 11s, the 12s, the 13, 14, 15, 16, that is reserved specifically, the double digits. I'm going 10 to 16. Those are reserved specifically for your Cinderella teams. You can't keep Carolina out because, again, those Q1 losses, if all your losses are to the best teams in college basketball and you lost to Duke thrice, you've lost to Duke this year, maybe it says, okay, those 13 losses aren't as bad as we think they are, right? Especially in college basketball, we have to do this. We have to weigh wins and losses in college basketball because that's what college basketball is you weigh those wins and losses. Oh. I want to give a shout out to Brock Marine, who tuned in on Instagram as well. Sonia Pearson over on YouTube now saying, well, Carolina may still come in on the end. I agree with that as well. Shout out to DD Nancy, who just tuned in on Instagram also. I love seeing that we're starting to get a little bit of traction on Instagram. It's not a lot, it's a little bit, but you know what? I'll take anything over nothing. And shout out to everyone that's tuned in over on X, on Facebook, on YouTube, etc. Thank you all so much for being a part of the show and all the festivities, all the fun things that we're doing over here. Tommy Cananza saying, I don't follow college basketball. I'm just here supporting. My guy, I got nothing but love for you, man. You know I got nothing but love for you. I'm trying to get you shared everywhere. Hey, I'm about it. I appreciate that. I know that's something that I got to get better at is like sharing to a bunch of different like platforms and stuff. I know I see a ton of people that always share their stuff out. I'm like, damn, I need to do that. But again, one-man show, trying to do it all on my own. Okay. And again, I wasn't going to be talking about the NCAA tournament. Like I didn't think it would be a conversation because I don't know how many people genuinely care about the NCAA tournament. I love basketball. We've already established this, right? I will watch basketball. I do not care what the level is. I am watching basketball. I went to sign my son up at one of the rec centers here because he's going to get into baseball. He'll be doing some baseball stuff. And I'm looking, and they have the desk right by the basketball court, and I'm seeing a bunch of kids just brick shot after shot after shot after shot. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, that's bad basketball. And I actually voiced it. And I felt like a jerk because I didn't mean to voice it, even though it was terrible basketball. Sonia Pearson going on to say, that's how I grew, and I'm going to help you. You are part of the family now. I appreciate that. Salud. I do need to talk to, I'm not going to bring it up, but I do need to have some conversations with a few of y'all about some things that we're going to be doing to help not just grow myself, but also grow the national streaming sports platform. Got to be able to talk to Mac and Linda about something. I've got some promising prospects coming down the road. And y'all are going to not enjoy sales version of Mike Tipton. I apologize for that. It's awesome, though. I can put on the multiple different hats and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm excited to see the NCAA tournament. I'm going to be hanging out with my friends over at B-Dubs a bunch of times, watching a bunch of those games. Maybe I can get a group of us to hang out, and we can watch some of them. I'd love to have a group of the people here in El Paso. Sonia, if you want to fly to El Paso, that'd be cool, too. But I want to have a group of people, maybe for the national championship. We reserve a table at Buffalo Wild Wings, at Hooters, at whatever, and we just hang out, watch the NCAA tournament games. That's one of my favorite things to do. I love the first couple of rounds of the NCAA tournament. I'm hooked like an addict because, once again, I just love basketball. That's all I love. Like, it's I was watching the Kobe documentary the other day, and you know how Kobe had like the Dear Basketball thing, and that resonates with me. I just love me basketball. So we'll talk about more. We'll talk about more of that coming up in a little bit as well. Okay. Now, I wanted to get to some of the stuff that was happening in the NFL because I started the show with, I don't know if I'm going to talk about college basketball or if I'm going to talk about the NFL. And we're halfway through the show now, and I haven't even mentioned the NFL because I wasn't expecting the NCAA tournament conversation to take us this way. Thank you, Augustine. Thank you, Sonia, for ingratiating yourselves to me the way that I wanted to talk about some college basketball. She's saying, found you, sharing now. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Sonia. Okay, so on this show, we've said it 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 times again. In order to build your team to become a contender, you have to build from the inside out. I don't think spending so much money on all of your skill players while ignoring your defense, ignoring your offensive line, ignoring whatever it is a recipe for success. I genuinely do not believe that. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching this weekend. I'm watching basketball. I'm doing Bob, Jim, and Pat Get Drunk on the internet. And we get the alert that the Bengals have signed Jamar Chase. They signed Jamar Chase to a 4-year, $161 million deal that includes $112 million guaranteed. And we knew that they were also going to sign T. Higgins because they had just franchise tagged him because they didn't want him to go. So we're going to give T. Higgins what he needs because Joe Burrow wants to have both these guys locked up long-term contracts. And they give T. Higgins a 4-year, $115 million deal. Jamar Chase's AAV over $40 million a year. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, shout out to the Carolina Pantherettes. That is one of Sonia Pearson's amazing programs that she is involved in as well. I love the pictures, especially whenever they're doing the stuff at the games. Absolutely love the stuff that the Pantherettes do. But I look at this, right? And now Jamar Chase has the record-setting non-quarterback market because now that's the whole thing, right? Is like I make more money than anyone that's not a quarterback, and that's where you kind of set the bar, right? But now you know you're not, and I know some people out there are going to be like, well, the salary cap isn't really real. It's just more like a suggestion, blah, 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 right? Whatever it is, it's going to be extremely difficult for the Bengals to now spend money in the future, to now focus on the defense, which was really bad, focus on the offensive line, which was really bad, because now you spend all your money. What is it? $276 million on 2 wide receivers. And I get it that's a premium position. That is genuinely a premium position. But is that what you need to win championships? And the fact of the matter is that's not the way that you win championships in today's NFL, in today's sporting market at all. Maybe in basketball you can win with 2 guys that you pay a ton of money to, but not in the NFL. That's basically 3 guys, right? Like think of the amount of money. Over $100 million wrapped up in 3 guys, 3 of them, that you want to try to have be like what carries your team. And the thing that's crazy about this is the Bengals missed the playoffs. It's not like they're running back a team that made a deep run in the playoffs, and maybe you're saying, oh, okay, well, it's because T. Higgins was hurt, blah, 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 whatever it might be, whatever your thought process is here of why you would defend the Bengals going this route as building their team this way, I don't get. Again, Jamar Chase, the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL, $40.3 million. That's more than Myles Garrett, who just signed a contract about a week or so ago. More than Max Crosby, who signed a contract just about 2 weeks ago. More than Justin Jefferson, more than Nick Bosa, and more than CeeDee Lamb. Exponentially more than all of these guys going forward. And what that makes me think about is the Dallas Cowboys. What are they going to do with Micah Parsons? Now, because you could say Micah Parsons is the Jamar Chase of defensive ends, right? Because I don't think there's a huge gap between Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. And I don't think there's a huge gap between Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, and Micah Parsons. And I honestly think Micah Parsons is better than those two guys. $115 million for a guy who can't stay healthy is crazy to me. Yeah, he's talented, but he's injured every damn year. And I think that that's what happened here is the Bengals said, we knew what it was like. And the Bengals said we knew what it was like whenever we made Carson Palmer upset, right? Whenever we broke up the team with Ocho Cinco and Hushmanzada and all of the talented receivers that they had. And I'm sitting back and I'm watching this team, and I again, like, they missed the playoffs. You could say, okay, maybe the T. Higgins injury is part of the reason why, but they missed the playoffs. And now you're sinking a bunch of money into a team that missed the playoffs without addressing the issue to make the team better, like actually better. Defensively, they're going to be picked on. And yeah, maybe, just maybe, you have the talent to put up a bunch of points, but what good is putting up a bunch of points if you can't stop any damn buddy? And I get it, right? Like sports is that's the way that it's going to go. Like we're talking about an amount of money that I hope and pray all of y'all see, but I know I won't see unless I play in the lottery, right? Like maybe I got to start playing the lottery. Carla R. McFall saying, good morning. We are the promo team for all things football from a lady's perspective, prim and proper sports. Shout out to you. Y'all are doing a fantastic job with the way that you promo everything. Also saying that the contract that T. Higgins signed was absolutely crazy. Just think about all of that money. And I wanted to talk about, once again, because you know that Micah Parsons is about to get paid. He's going to get paid. If the Dallas Cowboys were to let Micah Parsons go, you talk about a franchise that would be in revolt. Just absolutely in revolt. Tommy Cananza saying that money should have been used to get better on defense. I agree 1,000%. All that money should have been used to get better on defense. It's just crazy, right? Sonia Pearson going on to say the Cowboys need to hold on to what they can unless y'all are rebuilding. I believe it's a rebuild. I say it in jest, right? And this is me peeling back the curtain on what I do on this show, right? I say the 0-17 in jest. I don't want the Dallas Cowboys to go 0-17. But I also know that this isn't a team that's going to win a Super Bowl. The way they're built now, they're just not. And I like the Dante Fowler signing, don't get me wrong. I'm kind of okay with the Miles Sanders signing, although I will say, why did the Dallas Cowboys and the Carolina Panthers play musical running backs, right? or at least maybe Miles Sanders wasn't there last year. I'm trying to remember where Miles Sanders was, but I know Miles Sanders isn't the guy that you can rely on all the time. And if you let Rico Dowdle go away, again, my whole thought process with the Dallas Cowboys was I didn't think that they were going to let Rico Dowdle just leave. Tommy Cananza saying Micah and Luka leaving Dallas in the same year. Hell no, Dallas. That would be a nightmare scenario. An absolute nightmare scenario for you, Tommy. I know. And saying Fowler is decent from Prim and Proper Sports. Sigh. Sigh. What is it, like the old Pepe Le Pew cartoons? Can I even mention that? Holy crap. I just thought about that off the top of my mind right now. Are we allowed? I'm going to. Why not? It's my platform. You get mad at me, I apologize. Sincerely. Welcome to the show. But the old Pepe Le Pew cartoons back in the day where the cat would be like, Lesai. That's just what I saw right there. With Miles Sanders moving is crazy. Yeah, I mean, maybe a little bit, but I don't know. So I look at who the Dallas Cowboys signed. Sonia Pearson saying, everyone that's commenting, please hit that thumbs up. I appreciate you for that. I'm so weird when it comes to that stuff because I'm like, if you like it, hit the button. If you don't like it, okay. But if you're watching, please share, right? Like that's kind of the way that I do it. I know I got to get better at promoting myself. Shout out on Instagram to Mark Abieta, who's tuned in, along with Only a Paraphil, who joined in as well. So I'm looking at the Dallas Cowboys, right? Who they signed, who they kept, who all this is. And these are the names that the Dallas Cowboys were able to keep. It was Osa Odigizua, CJ Goodwin, Brock Hoffman, Wanea Thomas, Marquise Bell, Trent Sieg. They also kept their punter, Brian Anger. They kept Cavante Turpin, which I love, right? They go out and they sign Javonte Williams. They sign Robert Jones. They go out and they get Solomon Thomas. They get Peyton Turner. They get Kair Elam in a trade that they got with Buffalo. They get Jack Sanborn. They get Kenneth Murray Jr. in a trade with Tennessee. They get Israel Makamu from in free agency, Miles Sanders, Dante Fowler, Dakota Shipley, and of course, Paris Campbell, right? And I look at those signings on the defensive line and I say, okay, yeah, you went out, you got depth. That's what we wanted the Dallas Cowboys to do. Last week, I was upset that you didn't go out and you didn't go out and make a full effort to get Joey Bosa. But whatever, I'm fine. I'm happy. I'm not hurt at all. I'm just going to be crying a little bit on the inside. It's no big deal. Shout out on Instagram to my dude Hazelnut Hasiel Aguirre for tuning in, saying, please stop talking about the Cowboys. I'm sorry, my guy. I wish I could. I hate that I love this team. You already know that. I genuinely hate that I love this team, but I'm getting excited. We're a turd sandwich. We're just not soggy. So that means we're not at the bottom, brother. We're not the Giants. We're not the Raiders. We're not any of that. We're a turd sandwich, but we're not soggy. I got to turn that into a shirt. Not a soggy turd sandwich. The I hate that I love them shirts available on tiptonsports.com. Wow. Tommy Cananza saying, I got to make sure Augustine didn't comment up there. Okay, he hasn't. Tommy Cananza saying, I don't think they are rebuilding. You can probably call it a soft rebuild, but they've really been active in free agency, so I don't think they're in full rebuild mode. Shout out to the Cricket Commission saying, what's good, bud? Prim and Proper Sports saying, I'm sorry. Stop talking about the Cowboys, LMAO, and then going on saying, disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Asiel Aguirre saying, we got some crunch in that sandwich. A little bit. And Sonia, I always feel weird. I always feel weird whenever, I get to do the national professional sports show, and like I do Friday night with the fellas. I'm going to start doing a lot more Friday night with the fellas on Prim and Proper Sports every Friday night, as the name would indicate. And I always feel weird because I know I have a weird sense of humor. I have a weird way of speaking. I'm very, I'm able to paint pictures with the words that I speak, right? if I talk about the soggy turd sandwich known as the Dallas Cowboys, but they're not soggy anymore. They're a little dry, right? Like there's like Asiel said, there's a little bit of crunch in this sandwich. I always feel good, or weird rather, whenever people have to like go through the learning curve of what my sense of humor is. So I sincerely apologize if you're new to the show, but hopefully you stay. Maybe I walk a fine line between intelligence and comedy because I feel like we don't need to take sports so seriously. Now I'm going to close the curtain once again. Shout out to Hold My Own _ Raider Nation on Instagram. I want to know what your thoughts are on what's happening with the Raiders right now, because there's some moves the Raiders have made that I've been like, oh, okay, I like it. Let's see how this goes. Obviously, can't get much worse, right? I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm just saying that as what it is. Mireya Reyes saying there is no rebuild. They just throw money at random players. That's kind of what it feels like, right? It feels like the Dallas Cowboys have a dartboard that's spinning, and they just like they have $100 bill, and they're like, okay, who's this going to go to? Ha! All right, Dante Fowler. We let you go last year, but we're going to bring you back this year. Prim and Proper Sports saying, yes, more shows. Don't apologize. It's you. I appreciate that. I genuinely do appreciate that. Once again, the weird sense of humor that is a part of this show. Also saying, I love a sense of humor. Well, I appreciate that. Merci beaucoup. It's also random because I text people in French at times. I'm a random ass person. But I look at, again, the money that the Dallas Cowboys have spent. And I'm sitting back here and I'm thinking to myself, it feels like you're just throwing crap against the wall, seeing what sticks, right? You cook spaghetti, throw that one noodle against the fridge. If it sticks, you know you're good. At least I feel like that's the way that it goes, right? Isn't that supposed to be the way it goes? Now I'm rethinking everything that I've ever learned about cooking. I'm a big fat guy, so you know I cook a lot. The Crooked Commish saying it'll be interesting to see if Dart ends up sneaking into the first round. If Jackson Dart ends up sneaking into the first round, I wouldn't be surprised because we always see teams reach for a quarterback, whether or not that could be a backup, like Baltimore signing Cooper Rush over the last week, right? Like it just kind of seems like any team will reach for a quarterback. And if you can get a backup that can sit there, follow who your starter is, I'm good with that as well. Tommy Canazza saying all the signings have addressed needs. What's random about that? I know, like, I think that's the thing for me, right? Is like, yes, it addressed needs, but it's not sexy. And Tommy, we were talking about this last week where it's like we wanted a sexy pick that you get, right? Like we want something sexy. But the Dallas Cowboys haven't given us sexy. Actually, I take that back. Re-signing their punter, Brian Anger. Oh, that might be the sexiest thing I could think. Actually, no. My guy, my friend, Trent Sieg, the long snapper being re-signed. Oh, so sexy. So sexy. The sexiest picks you could possibly do. Mireya Reyes coming after the Raiders Nation saying Raiders are always building, not necessarily the right building. The Raiders are building an entire tower, right? Like a huge, just going up to the sky, but it's basically tongue depressors, popsicle sticks, bubble gum, and duct tape that's made this building. I understand what you're saying there, Midea. It always feels like they're doing something, but it's just a weird thing that they're doing. Sonia Pearson saying, I saw the French text, LOL, I only know Spanish. The Crooked Commish saying Dallas could have picked a better defensive coordinator. As a Bears fan, I couldn't wait for Eberflus to lose, or to leave, rather. I was so surprised with that, too, because you saw the team just turn on that guy. Thanksgiving Day, everyone just turned on Matt Eberflus. Like, what the hell is going on here? And I thought, okay, he's going to be out of coaching. Maybe he goes down to college for a couple of days or a couple of years, right? Then, rebrands himself and comes back. And these are the Dallas Cowboys coaching decisions, as we're going to get Brian Schottenheimer, of all people, and then we're going to have Matt Eberflus as our defensive coordinator. You know what? I'm back to 0-17. Back to 0-17. Tommy Canazza saying we can still get sexy. You know what that is, Tommy? Where you're like, we can still get sexy. That's dudes like me that are in our 40s that see guys running down the street. They got no shirt on, but they're super ripped. And I'm like, man, I remember whenever I used to look like that whenever I was in the Air Force, right? I was running all the time. I was lifting weights. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I can get back to it. And then I take one step out to run, and my heart damn near explodes. I fall to the ground, and the only thing that can revive me is a burger and soda, along with multiple copious amounts of beers. Or maybe that's just me. But I can still get sexy. I just don't want to get sexy right now. There's no need for me to get sexy. The Cowboys are giving content. Oh yeah, no, that's what they do. They are a content conveyor belt. Just constantly a content conveyor belt. Tommy Canazza saying, Mireya is a Packers fan. I don't get it. I love it. If you're gonna hate equally. Mireya, I love it. Keep on doing you, girl. You do you. Mireya saying, I was about to say that. LOL. Brian Shopping Center. I hate the fact that Brian Schottenheimer is the Dallas Cowboys head coach. Brian Schottenheimer, the Dallas Cowboys head coach. That's what makes me feel rebuild, Tommy. Brian Schottenheimer, Matt Eberflus. That really makes me feel like, okay, 0-17, staring you down the barrel. Just go ahead, pull the trigger. 0-17, I'm going to be happy with it. 1-16 the next year. We're just going to stockpile number 1 overall picks, baby, because we're halfway decent in the draft. This free agency, I'm seeing a ton of names. A ton of names. But Paris Campbell, is that really a number 2? Really? I don't feel like I like that. The Crooked Commish saying having 30 seconds on the clock and let it waste away while you have a timeout in your back pocket. Have to call a timeout and get your team set up for the final play 100%. Mireya with arguably the best comment I have ever seen on the show saying, I don't hate. I simply make observations. I like it. I'm down with it. I enjoy it. Shout out to Hesle Estrella, who tuned in over on Instagram. Remember, everybody, we're live. Instagram, X, YouTube, Facebook, and, of course, on Roku with National Streaming Sports. Check out all of the different things they have on National Streaming Sports. The Prim and Proper Friday night with the fellas. I'm going to be a part of that starting on Fridays. Not every Friday, but all the Fridays that I can. And, of course, the Wednesday National Professional Sports Show. I've been a part of that as well. TGI Sports with my guy, Chris Engel, or Keith Engel, rather. And, of course, Coast to Coast with Bo Crouch. Amazing shows that they've got going on over there. Saying it's not content, no content like sexy, but a nun. Oh, okay, convent. As far as what sexy goes. No, I'm not saying that. Jesus Christ. I'm going to go to hell. I firmly believe it. But you know what? Maybe y'all can watch from heaven as I'm down in hell, and you'll be like, oh, you know what? He kind of deserved it. And if I go there, then I know I kind of deserved it. But I'm not going to let that one out because I feel like if I do that, the guardian angel on my shoulder will slap me in the back of the head. Campbell is a camp body, nothing more. I deliberately say shopping center because it's a season of shopping around again. Nah, I get it 100%. I 100% get it. Dallas better not let Lamb waste away. And then wide receiver 2 coming in the draft is what Tommy Cananza says. I hope. That's all I can do with the Dallas Cowboys. That's all I can say is I hope. No, that's all I have. Hope. Factoring in hope. Trafficking in hope. Mining in hope. I'm curious to hear your Packers observations, Mireya. Ooh, being called out. I like it. Let's see how this goes. I think the Packers have done okay. No, I'm saying that the Cowboys are not giving sexy. No, 100%. I'm with you on that. That's why as soon as you said convent, I was like, okay, convent. I got it. I got you. Because nuns are not sexy. But then in my mind, I thought maybe there is one or two or three. I've seen videos on a certain hub. Oh, God. I haven't. I just wanted to get the joke out, and I sink into the jokes. That's 100% what I do. I sink in to the jokes. That's why I say I'm going to hell. I firmly believe that. The Dallas Cowboys convent. I mean, the odds are, right? Like, there has to be one nun out there. Minimum, one nun, right? Like, again, if 1% of the world's population found you to be attractive, that's 7 million people. 70 million people. Think about that. There has to be at least one nun out there that people are like, right? Like, there has to be. This conversation should not be had. I'm going to be struck by lightning the second I walk outside. Mireya, at least you're with me. At least you're with me. No, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a convent. There ain't no such thing as sexy, but I'm saying odds are there's at least one. I'm going to say there's got to be a handful. There just has to be a handful. Tommy Cananzo went the smart way about it. I've seen them. I just ain't saying where I've seen them. But I mean, they're with me. Some nuns, yeah. I mean, there has to be, right? Like, odds are, once again, I've always thought about this. If 1% of the world's population found me to be sexy, that's 70 million people. Even if it's 1% of that 1%, it's 700,000 people. I'm good with that. I am good with that. Mireya hitting me right over the head with it. The 10% rule. There you go. There you go. But I think Sonia is going with me on this one of it's like the nuns that you always see out there, right? Like some like I cannot say bad things about, come on. Jesus. I hate where my mind goes sometimes. Thankfully, the show's almost over. That way I don't have to say it. But with what we traditionally see, the old leather bag looking nuns is what the Dallas Cowboys are giving off. Zero sex appeal. None. The Dallas Cowboys, other than Jerry Jones, have taken a vow of celibacy. And they are not going to be able to get anything done. No glory hole for Jerry Jones this year. That's the hell part. Where and how you saw them. I'm not saying. And you won't ever get me to say it. Although I did say it earlier. It was a joke. All that's a joke. Maybe. There's always a little bit of truth and a little bit of joke. It doesn't take much to get me to go down a rabbit hole. I will say that. All right, everybody. I want to give you a big shout out for tuning into today's show. Remember, support the people that support this show. Prim and Proper Sports, National Stream Sports on Roku, all that. And, of course, our amazing sponsors that we have here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We will be back tomorrow. And, of course, Tommy, like you said, there is a hub, just no longer in the state of Texas. If they are sexy, it's none of our business. It's between them and the Lord. I can't think of a better way to end the show. Thank you all. You all know there are hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. However, BetUS has been in business for over 30 years. They have future bets that are paying out in the thousands, and there's still time for you to bet on the Super Bowl, the National Championship, and even the NBA Championship. Just use the QR code right here, and it'll take you to the BetUS site. BetUS. Check it out and bet responsibly. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%.